where they go with it, because apparently they said that Hayden Christensen's Darth Vader will be in every episode. There's gonna be 6 episodes.
Yeah.
So
Interesting.
The thing with Ewan McGregor, as much as I love him, and he's been in some of my Train Spotting, obviously Star Wars, Fargo.
He's a G.
Yeah, he's incredible. He's in some of my favorite stuff ever. I think he loves Obi-Wan so much, and he wants to see that made so much that they could give him a terrible script, and he would still be like, "I'm in. Like, let's do this." And
so excited.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. It's actually interesting for the listeners. We have a connection with Braden outside of just podcasting. We all three come out of CMO's TV and film program. And so that's where we actually had a run-in with Braden a year ago. Are we getting there?
About a year ago.
Yeah, and
almost getting there.
Almost there for a little local film festival. And ironically, I was going to tell Jackson this the next time we came in contact with each other. Jackson, so many moons ago, my brother Spencer Magruder, shout out. He made a short film for Fault Line, the local film festival.
That's right, the pitch.
Exactly, yes. And Jackson was the lead.
Oh, yeah? Oh, I remember hearing that, actually, yeah.
So it's all connected. Well, in that case...
The top 500 cinematic universe.
That's exactly right. I think it's got to be the Southeast Missouri TV and Film Department universe, right?
Yeah.
Sure. There's a lot of branches.
It could go anywhere.
It's all canon.
It's all canon. So, Braden, as we were talking about a little bit before, we do a thing every week called the Top 500 Lightning Round, where we put 60 seconds on the clock, and one person must... for those who can't see, well, nobody can see because we're not recording it. I just, ominously brought the speaker out for John because John's up this week talking about like stars on Earth. Before we do the lightning round, broad strokes, what did we think of the movie? Braden, you're our guest. Go first.
I thought it was very different from a lot of movies of that type of genre. It was super well told. I haven't seen any Bollywood movies, I don't think, before this one. So it was an interesting first experience, but it really tugs at the heartstrings, and I think that it sends a beautiful message. And yeah, we'll get into the deets later.
The dirty deets.
Yeah. That's my overall reaction.
Cool. Yeah, no, I mean, what do you think?
I was just surprised throughout the movie because it's a very heartfelt. It's supposed to be a very heartfelt, warm, and kind of inspiring movie. And there were several scenes where I was sitting there just being like, wow, they're hamming this up. The cheese is here. And I was in. I was there was never took me out of it. It was always just like, yes, your parents need to realize that you, there was never a moment where I'm just like, okay, they're trying really hard to be dramatic. I was in the entire time. I thought it was beautiful.
How not to parent the movie.
Yes. Dude, for real. That's what they called the sequel, actually.
No, I agree. I don't really know what I was expecting, but I was not expecting it to be as melodramatic as it was. But I mean, I'll be upfront. It hit me just right. This one, it affected me. So I can't wait to talk about it. But unless you have an objection, Jonathan Gautier, let's put 60
I'm good to go.
On the clock.
I do want to reiterate to Braden, though, but this might go terribly. This isn't so.
That's okay.
I just want you to be aware.
We've done flawlessly in the past.
I've always gotten hour-long movies before by sheer luck. This is my first 3-hour movie that I'm having.
I'm only expecting perfection. So
you're going to be majorly let down by the rest of the show. Are you ready?
Yeah, I think so.
60 seconds. Hold it.
All right, starts out with this kid named Ishan. He's in school. He's not doing very well in school. In the opening scene, he's supposed to bring home his test scores to his parents, but he doesn't show them to his mom. He's always just messing around. Thing is, you start to learn really early on, Ishan enjoys beautiful things in life. He understands it. He sees that you don't necessarily need an education to be able to enjoy every moment that you're in. So he's doing terrible in school. His parents are getting very upset about it. The teachers are getting more and more upset. But every time that he's having trouble, struggling, he doesn't say anything. He just brushes it over, acting disobedient. Gets to a boiling point with his parents. They end up sending him away to a boarding school. This is the end of his life. Everything is terrible. He gets to the boarding school. It's very hard. He's not having a great time, but he makes a couple good friends and starts realizing that stuff is 19. Okay, stuff is not that bad. He gets to a point where he's like, never mind, stuff is that bad. He becomes completely depressed. He has a TV teacher that comes in. It's a new art teacher. The art teacher realizes he has dyslexia, talks to his parents about it, works with him to work on his dyslexia, and realizes that he's an incredible artist. And at the end, he wins a big competition for art, showing that he has true potential, just not in math and other subjects.
That was it. Beautifully done, Jay. Beautifully done.
My heart was racing there at the end. I didn't know if you'd get to the climax main event of the film.
I was worried.
That is always, whenever I do it, I spend like the first 40 seconds on the first 10 minutes of the movie and then just have to zoom through the rest of it.
Braden, so our second episode, when we introduced the lightning round, because it was my idea, I was just like, it's only fair that I'm the one who has to do it first. Like, I'll suffer first, and then you can do it. It was a 4-hour German silent movie that I had to sum up in 60 seconds.
He did really great.
No. All right, so we usually break it up, the discussion, into 3 segments. We do performance, we do writing, and we do direction. We feel like that pretty much covers bases, and then obviously the conversation goes, where would you like to start?
Let's get into the direction first.
Okay.
Do you have any elements of it that kind of stuck out to you?
Yeah, I think it was directed by Amir Khan.
Mm-hmm.
He's done a lot of these type of like Bollywood movies that are supposed to be really heart-wrenching, but I think that the way the story was told and his use of animation to show Ishan's kind of mindset and like the perspective that he uses of like the whole childlike whimsy and wonder with Ishan was so well done, because immediately we know, even from the beginning of the film with the whole title sequence, we know that Ishan is the way he is, if that makes any sense.
100%.
And with the animation, and then he also makes a big point with the music. Was this supposed to be a musical? I couldn't tell.
When we had talked about it, John had made reference that it was a musical. So I was expecting music numbers. And
we only get one.
Well, no, so I was...
But then there was. Like, there were, like, songs. There were, like, needle drops throughout the thing, right?
I was saying before I saw it, I thought it was going to be... I don't know if it was... I don't know what to classify something as a Bollywood movie. Was this a Bollywood movie?
I would say... I think it...
It was,
Okay, so the couple I had seen, there was a lot of music numbers throughout, and very specific music numbers, so I was expecting that going in. I was kind of surprised, that there was nothing until the moment that Amir Khan showed up.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in performance, because, I mean, that scene is a standout for me. But, no, I agree 100... I really agree with you. That was actually the first note I took, which is just the way they, like, weaved... obviously Amir Khan, but the animation team weaved those animations and then just like graphics in general into the story again. So thematically it makes sense and it introduces the character, but also just visually. I thought it really pulled it together, because this was a pretty film. Like
absolutely.
He really was specific about how colorful it was. And that plays to, the theme of just how beautiful life is. And so I agree with you. The animation was a standout for me, that it brings us into his world. We see that through his eyes. I mean, it's several times, like the credits, the title credits there's a beautiful animation sequence.
Yeah, I watched those opening credits several times before I'd even watched through the rest of the movie, just because I didn't understand at the time that he was trying to portray how chaotic your mind is with dyslexia, and when you have all these numbers and symbols being thrown at you. But the scene was just so beautiful that it set the tone for everything, because you have all this chaos going on, and then on top of that, the teacher's reading off the grades, which I don't know if that is an actual practice, reading off everybody's grades in front of the... Did you guys ever have that happen? Because that was...
No, I think that maybe that's an India thing. I don't know.
Yeah, I was wondering, because that was very... But it also said at the very beginning of the movie that like none of the negative aspects actually reflected, so I didn't know if it was dramatized or if it was an Indian thing, but just not at the schools that they were actually filming in. I don't know.
And then my favorite of the little animation sequences was when he's taking his math test, and he gets one question right, or he doesn't even get it right, but he gets one question down. But he gets in his little rocket and he sucks Earth up, and then he's trying to take it to Pluto.
Yeah.
It was just so imaginative.
I wish my mind worked like that.
It also, I felt
you just go into a breakout animation sequence anytime you're trying to solve a problem.
Agreed.
I also felt like that scene did a lot for the story because it showed how intelligent he was, because he knew the order of the planets, and like a lot of the stuff that he was talking about, you could tell he was intelligent. He just didn't understand the question, what is 3 times 9?
Yeah, agreed.
And one thing that kind of stood out to me was whenever he is like told to like stand up and read in front of the class, and he just says, "I can't," because the words are dancing. At first, I didn't know what that meant. I was like, "What is he actually just like being a little shit?" And then we find out that like that is actually his condition, like dyslexia. And I thought that was really well done because for a second we are in the shoes of the teacher. Like, why isn't he just reading it? Like, just do it. And he literally can't, and we find that out. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah, I agree. I think that was a nice little sprinkle in there early on. And we'll talk about this more in when we talk about the writing. I actually think there were a lot of great setups and payoffs in this, but again, we'll jump into that.
Absolutely.
Did you think direction?
I mean, I was going to touch on, in that same scene, I thought it was interesting, like, as he's walking out of the classroom, you can see a lot of shame on him, and then he drops it from his face, and then kind of does a little fist bump, which showed how they came back to that later, where, like, every time, instead of feeling like he was stupid, anytime he didn't understand, he would just mask it with, like, "Oh, yeah, I don't care. Like, I'm not trying to understand any of this," to try to hide the struggle that he was actually having, trying to figure everything out.
Dude, I mean, and you also, but you'll see as we record. There's so much I want to talk about the writing, but we'll get into it in a little bit. But let's talk about Amir Khan for a second, because I always think it's so interesting when a director not only is in their films, like like something like Jojo Rabbit, where Taika Waititi has like a little running gag that he's. I mean, it's a big part of the movie, obviously, but I wouldn't say that he was a lead in Jojo. But I always think it's interesting when a director decides they're going to be leading in their movies. And I wanted to get you guys' opinion. I actually think, because I didn't realize he directed the movie until after I watched it, I thought he did an incredible job.
He did great too,
performance-wise. And I think for as imaginative and thoughtful the directing was, it seems like, in the little experience that we've had, you have to be fully immersed in the production. The fact that he was able to juggle that with a performance like that, I was just really impressed. I wanted to know what you guys kind of thought about, because you weren't aware of that he directed it until
no, I had no idea until actually just a little bit ago.
Did you know going in?
Yeah, I was doing some Googling while watching it, and I was like, man, some of these shots are really cool. Who directed this? And then I realized that it's the main guy. I thought that I always admire the ability of actors to put themselves in the right mindset on set to give those kind of performances while also trying to, direct the rest of the cast, direct the rest of the crew, and, making sure you're making a good movie, a cohesive movie. I think that is really hard to do, and the fact that people like him can do that is awesome.
Agreed. John, I don't know, Brandon, I don't know your background. I really have no interest in acting, because we're all three filmmakers. I have no interest in acting. John, I've seen him direct and perform, and it's an impressive quality, I think, because we all three are aware of this now, because John just got off his first solo short. You are just so in when you're making the movie. You're so just sucked into everything that's going on, not even just performance, but technically, and then you're thinking about scheduling, and you're thinking about managing the crew, and
1,000 moving parts you have to pay attention to.
So I could not imagine having a role this size.
Well, yeah, that's because with mine, like I already decided from that one time of doing it, I was like, well, that was very stressful, like trying to act and also direct. So like with future projects, I'm trying to be more behind the camera just so I can focus on it more. But with him making like this entire feature, I mean, the